Hi, everybody. It's Stacey Sobel with Salon Today and Data Driven, and I'm so excited to have Frank Gambuza with me today from Salon Visage and Gambuza Barbershops. Hi, Frank. How are you?
Fine, Stacey. How you doing?
I'm great. You were at our Data Driven last year and were like by far one of our best speakers. And you focused on Pivot or Plummet, which was really focusing on what you were seeing currently as a successful salon owner that was happening in the industry and happening to your business and how you had to pivot to address those things. And this is going to be kind of Pivot or Plummet version 2, talking about what we're looking at these days. So tell us a little bit about what you think you'll be talking about this time.
Stacey, it seems like we can do a pivotal plummet monthly. It'll be two for the seminar, but it's probably version 9, right?
Right.
With the necessary fluidity right now in order to adjust and to many things. It's not just consumer behavior. It's not just staff expectations. Obviously a lot of this was already kind of in play. And I think it's always been there in a way that wasn't so in your face.
Right.
And now it is. I mean, right now it's basically managing moments for the most part. You certainly got to stick to your belief systems, but there's changes it's the velocity of change that we're really having to manage right now. And there's a lot of things that come into play in our world.
And I think it was really poignant for a lot of people at last year's conference, because we have owners of all sizes, people who are young and just starting out, people who are established. But to look at someone like you and what you've gained over your career, and that you're still in the position of having to address these changes daily, I guess it doesn't get easier. You just have more.
No,
You just have more to deal with it, more experience to deal with it.
Stacey, I think that the category that you just explained, the ones that have been in it and have had some success, are the ones that are really dealing with it most. Because the newer, smaller operations or newer salons, they've really not having to pivot a whole lot. They're just implementing.
Right.
And they're implementing with the new consumer behavior. They're implementing with the new employee, expectation, because chances are they were already in that mindset had they worked for someone else. So I don't really think that's where the big shift is taking place. So, I really think it's going to boil down to, we've always had luxury salons and we've always had kind of mass market, economy-based price point salons. But we always had the middle was always heavy with almost luxury, but yet priced like luxury. And so I really think it boils down to 3 types of salons. Either you sell a little for a lot, and that's your boutique,
Yeah.
or you sell a lot for a little, right? And that's your kind of economy-based price point. A lot of salons used to be in the middle where we kind of sold a lot for a lot. And in a way, kind of, I don't want to say got away with it, but it was a model that was fine with the consumer in many ways, because it was always quality work, because most of those models always focused heavy on training. So at the end of the day, the client's about the experience, location, relationship with service provider. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when they go home and wash their hair after they paid for either highlights and haircut or whatever, if the hair did beautiful and they had a nice experience, they were happy. Mm-hmm. But today it's completely different in the sense that when we had a spa, it used to be we sold days of beauty, and somebody would come in and spend 8 hours in there.
Right.
And felt like it was like, oh my gosh, it was such a mental vacation. And then you saw that consumer behavior change to where they were busting up days of beauty into like 4 visits because they just didn't have the time to spend in the salon or in the spa. And I think it's the same thing now, is the one that's going to figure out how to do great work, beautiful work in the shortest amount of time is really going to be the model. And it's almost a contradiction to everything that was either a little for a lot or a lot for a little. So I think that's really, I don't want to say quagmire, but that's kind of the tree where it's kind of barking up right now.
Well, and I agree with you. It's delivering all of that in a short amount of time, but also delivering on the experience. And
Right.
that's where a lot of people struggle. They can execute a great haircut and they can get what the client wants and out the door and looking beautiful, but the experience could be lacking.
Yeah.
So,
but what was their experience at checkout? Did the cashier use luxury language? Did, was the salon as clean as it should be? Because price is a whole nother thing we got to talk about too with pivoting. Because what's happened over the last few years, and to identify it, and I'm sure manufacturers who we need to partner with on a lot of levels. But realistically, what's happened is the most profitable portion of our business was retail.
mhm.
I don't say is, because a lot of it's gone. A lot of it's gone for all the reasons with third-party sales and Amazons and all that. And you can't cry about it. You just got to pivot. And I think that's the key. So the only way we can make up that revenue, and not so much top line revenue, because retail was really more about bottom line revenue than it was top line. I mean, for a formula standpoint, I mean, when we like pull apart mixed revenue and it's not blended, I mean, we were making 50% of our profits from about 15% of our retail sales.
Right.
So all of a sudden you take that high profitability piece away, you're left with only services, but with very minimal profit. How do we make that up? The only way we're going to be able to make that up and be sustainable is by raising prices. And right now that's like now is the time to do it. Now has to be the time to do it if we're going to continue to sustain ourselves. But you can't just raise prices and give the same product.
Raise prices and get smarter about delivering more to that customer that they'll be willing to purchase from you while they're in the store.
Yeah, it's going to be more. If you're going to charge more money, you got to give more value.
Right.
And if you're going to give more value, you got to give better customer service. And if you're going to give better customer service, you're going to have a higher payroll. So these things are all interconnected to the point where we have to make a decision. Are we going to sell a lot for a little or a little for a lot?
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a hybrid version there anymore. I think there was for a long time. And size of salon has a lot to do with that. I mean, the big mega salons, I'm one of them, right? My wife and I have a very long, you've been here. Yeah. I think the model's got to share. It's got to pivot as well, because you have all that incurred overhead before you do your first haircut in a month. And, can you sustain that kind of space if you're really going to be doing, less people for more money, right? Because then you're going to outprice yourself from the middle market. We got to figure out who we want to be. And
the bigger and more sophisticated, more complicated your business gets, the harder it is to pivot.
Oh, it's like turning around a battleship instead of a speedboat.
Right.
And I envy a lot of the salons that can just do it overnight. For us, it's, it's meeting before the meeting, and then you got to have a meeting, and then you got to make some decisions, and then we got to sit on
those decisions.
Yeah, and then you got to put a round table together and bounce it off. You keep people. It's a battleship, and but at the end of the day, it's. I think the way you can make the speed quicker to those decisions is with data. When we talk about it now, and look, I've been using data for 25 years. I used to get on airplanes and have a stack like this and text people and tell them how they were performing. I don't think it's that kind of data anymore. Now it's getting way more sophisticated on when do we open, when do we not open. It used to be where we couldn't give staff Saturdays off or evenings off, because that's when working people can only get here. Well, heck, working people working at home now, they throw on a pair of flip-flops and they come in the middle of the day and get their haircut. So that's one of the things we were able to really pivot with young staff who wasn't really raised in the company from 15, 20 years. They didn't want to work nights and Saturdays, and that was always a giant argument for us.
Right.
Because that's when people with expendable income can get to you, right? So Saturday used to be our best day of the week from an income standpoint. Now it's our worst day of the week.
Yeah.
So if people say there's not changing, Yeah, it's like it just flipped on its head. So we're able to be a lot more negotiable with young staff to be able to meet some of their schedule needs because look, rightfully so. I work like a yard dog, Saturdays, nights, 25 clients a day for two. And I'm not sure that was the best way to go about it. I don't regret it, but I can't imagine my 23-year-old daughter, oh, she's 26 now, Sydney, who's a new hairdresser. She looks at me like I have two heads when I'm telling her like stay late and do two more heads. It's like, but Dad, I got plans. It's like plans. You don't make plans until you're done. When am I done? When you're done, when there's no more clients. So that's a whole learning curve. And I spoke about that last year at Pivot to Plummet. Is she's been a great litmus test for us and a guiding light to, hey, Dad, you got to look at it like it with a different set of lenses on. And I'm not that old bird that is like set in stone, but I think I do get rigid on what I think is quality.
Right.
And she's been very helpful to help us look at the next generation.
But you're right. You have to be able to understand where you can harness that data and interpret it and understand it and what it's telling you about your business and what decisions you can make.
Yeah, the reason why it works so well for us, Stacey, is in the past, a young hairdresser would come to work here and just say, if you give me a job, I'll be a great man. I want to come here for the education. I'll be a great employee. I'll work hard. And it was like a handshake and like, do it. And some made it and some didn't, right? It was kind of just the way it was, the climate. It was because they believed in your company. They believed in your vision. And not that the young ones don't, right? But they had their own opinions way sooner in the industry. Before it was, you had to get talented and busy before you kind of had opinions that most people would listen to, because you've then earned the right to share what you think a salon should do.
Right.
And until then, you kind of just, you did what you were told and you got busy and it worked. Now, your opinion is feelings. And it's so hard to get someone to buy into feelings, but they can buy into data.
Right.
So it becomes the negotiator between the owner and a new hire or even a young hire, or even an older hire. When they want to make a decision, and it's taught me the other way, it's worked both ways, that data. It's helped me explain my side of it for them to say, oh, okay, I didn't know that. But as I dig down, sometimes I say, well, instead of just saying no, which I would have, I can do that because the data is telling me something different.
Right.
So
right.
so that door swings both ways. But without it now, and I don't really put all that data like on the floor or on the stage with the staff, but when we have to, we use it. And like I said, it becomes the kind of the negotiator between you and them. And when you can point to numbers or just, and it don't even have to be about numbers per se, because most hairdressers don't want to be mathematicians. Right. But when I could take the numbers and turn it into words and say, listen, if you want to take that time off, that you realize it's going to cost you 33% of your income. Why? Well, because we sell time slots for a living, and your 100 time slots just got cut down to 66. So, right.
Right.
And then it starts saying, oh, shoot, wait, I didn't know that. How about if we do half of that?
Right. Right.
So it becomes a negotiator.
Well, and it takes, like you said, takes the emotion and the opinion out of it, because you're dealing with a tangible fact, and they can
and
feel
I don't know
but it takes that emotion out of it. Yeah.
And I don't know one salon owner or one hairdresser that doesn't have a strong opinion.
Well, we can't wait to hear your presentation. Data Driven is April 23rd and 24th, and you are also going to join us for the Salon Today 200 party as our moderator. So we're very excited for that. And
I'm looking forward to that as well.
And we're back in Nashville because everybody had a blast last year. So we're excited to return to a bigger space, and I can't wait to see everybody Data Driven. So thank you so much, Frank.
I'm looking very forward to it. When I went last year, it was kind of in and out, and I hated that I couldn't stay longer because there was so much newness there.
Yeah.
And I got to see some of it, but I'm really going to spend extra time there because to me, the crowd was probably one of the most intelligent crowds of any crowd I've spoken to in years. So it's collecting the right people for the right reasons. And I'm proud to be a part of it. And I thank you for thinking of me.
Well, thank you very much. And we love it because we kind of harness the wisdom of the room. Most of the presenters are salon owners or experts in the industry, and it's kind of like a big think tank.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, thank you, Frank. Can't wait to see you. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.